Thanks for joining me. In this video I'm going to show you the anatomy of a knife handle. In this case it would be a Jackalore Classic in 3mm that I'm building, which will have Loveless bolts. As you can see, this is the tang of the knife, and it has various holes drilled in the tang. Some of them are, well, the holes all, apart from these two here, have dual purposes, especially these two middle ones. These are just to remove some of the weight from the tang, but they're also to allow the epoxy to go through, so I get a good strong bond between the scales. These two here, these are for the Loveless, in this case it's Loveless bolts. Loveless bolts will go through there. The back one is for the lanyard tube, and the two smaller holes here and here, again just to allow a through flow of epoxy to form a nice secure bond, especially at the front of the scales there. Moving on to the scales, I dimple my scales. The reason why I do this is twofold. One, it increases the surface area, so therefore you've got a stronger bond, and secondly it means that if you apply a lot of pressure when you're assembling the knife, your glue can squeeze out. Now if you apply too much pressure, you can squeeze all the glue out, but with the dimples you're never going to be able to squeeze all the glue out, so there's always going to be glue there. So it's crucial not to over tighten, but then you don't want to under tighten either. Now if you look on the scales themselves, you'll see that the inner holes here are quite small, but the outer holes are somewhat wider in diameter. This is to create a hole which will accept the Loveless bolt, and the Loveless bolt itself, it gives a mechanical bond in that it goes down into the wood and then it hits upon a shoulder, and the shoulder then, when you assemble the knife like that, once you've assembled the knife, when I then tighten that down, it will pull these lugs into the wood, into the pocket that's been created by the mill, and then mechanically push those scales together and form a very, very strong mechanical bond. That, together with the epoxy, here's the epoxy that I use, will form a handle which should never come off. Okay, here is the mill. This is the mill, and it's got a step. This is the mill bit, and it's got a step on it, if you can notice. If I use a pointer, I'll use a Loveless bolt as a pointer. It's got a step just there. That step goes down into the pilot hole which you've drilled previously, and then it bottoms out on the drill bed. So there's a step in the wood that equates in depth to that. So it's time now for me to mix up the epoxy, get this handle assembled, and then I can set the knife aside for 24 hours for the epoxy to set up, and then I can work on that handle and hopefully have a very nice finished knife. One point of note to add is that the The surfaces have all been keyed. Hopefully you can see the surfaces of the pins and the tang of the knife. So I'll put some close-ups there for you to look at that. Well, here am I just gluing the handle up now. I've applied the glue to the inside of the scales. I've also applied glue when I push these into the scales themselves. They've been glued in. There'll be glue on the threads. I've pre-glued the inside of the lanyard tubes. Sorry, the hole through the tang for the lanyard, I should say. The hole through the scales for the lanyard is what I mean. I do get tongue-tied sometimes, I'm afraid. So you're looking for a wet surface to wet surface. Wet in that you've coated it with epoxy. You don't need a lot, but you will get some squeezing out as you tighten the Loveless bolts down. So that goes onto there. It should fit quite nicely. You can see it already squeezing through some of the pins. I like to just top these little wells up here. Bit of glue around the lanyard tube and a bit onto the threads of the Loveless bolts. At the moment, you see, it acts like a lubricant because it's not set, so just applying a little bit of glue to the insides of the recesses made by the mill bit. Don't know if you can see that, just like that. Lines up, goes on, slides down nicely. You can see the glue squeezing out already. Then it's a matter of applying. I'll put a bit of glue onto them as well. Important to wear gloves. This stuff's horrible stuff. If you get it onto your skin, it's waterproof. I use an adhesive called G-Flex. It's specially formulated for oily and difficult to bond woods. It's waterproof, and you get it on your skin, it takes ages for it to come off, sometimes days. Okay, so that's down like that. Let's have a look. So now I'm going to just screw this Loveless bolt in. On the opposite side, you can see it's drawing the bolt through. It's drawing the nut through, rather, if you can call it the nut. The lug, I suppose, is the correct name for it, I think. Watch this lug here being pulled in. It all sorts itself out. So hopefully you can see the opposite lug being drawn in now. The noise that the fan you can hear blowing is the workshop air scrubber. It takes all the dust out of the air. Right, so as I apply more pressure now, you'll see I've got a fair bit of glue squeezing out. So I'm quite happy with that. Glue squeezing out all round, glue squeezing out at the front. Just going to clean this up. Just remove the excess. And the bit you've got to do most importantly is this bit at the front, because if you don't get that clean now, you'll never get that clean. And what I tend to do is get a fresh piece of paper towel. I just keep pulling down, exposing fresh clean paper towel, get it right in there each time I use a fresh piece. And it does eventually get it clean, and then it might leave a very, very thin film of epoxy, but that you can clean off very easy once it's set up the next day. Same to this side. I'm very wary about putting any acetone on this bit to remove any of the residue, because the chances are there's a very slight chance you could get some of the acetone beneath the scale, and it could compromise the adhesion at that critical point just at the very front of the scales there. So I'm quite happy now with that. Make sure the lanyard tube is centred, and then what I might just do is just put a clamp on the back, just like that, and then set it aside to dry, and this will be ready in 24 hours for handle shaping. So that's the scales all assembled now. I put them vertically like that, so any glue is not going to drip onto the blade, it's all going to drip down. If you notice that where the clamp is, I've got some tissue paper in there, some paper towel rather, and that'll just catch any of the glue that falls down due to gravity. Well, I hope that was of interest to some of you. Here's some other knives that one other knife that I've glued up the other day. This one's now set off and it's ready to have its handles shaped. They do look rather like ugly ducklings at the moment, so there's still an awful lot of work to do in the handle shaping and finishing. I finished off a few knives recently, so I'll show you those in a bit of a slideshow now, just to end this video. So with that, I'll say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the slideshow. See you in my next video. Bye for now.